Hey people, what is up? Welcome back to our channel. Once again, it's me, your bearded bro, QuickSilver 15, back with another video. And today we'll be reviewing another Netflix series that will definitely leave you thirsty for more. And of course, we're talking about Midnight Mass, of course, directed by Mike Flanagan. If you're a fan of Haunting of Hill House and of Bly Manor, he is also the director of those. And if you like those kind of horror movies, then I believe you'll definitely love the movie we're gonna talk about. And of course, going into this, I had high expectations for this series, and just take note that when I watched this series, I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen, what it was all about. I didn't even read the synopsis, and I suggest you do the same. So if you haven't watched the series yet, I suggest you pause the video and go binge watch all 7 episodes and come back and we'll talk about our review of the series. So the general synopsis of the movie from IMDb is: an isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens. Ooh. After the arrival of a mysterious, charismatic young priest. So just basing it off of the synopsis, not much, right? It sounds, what? That seems pretty boring for a horror movie. Omens, miracles, what? Horror movies and miracles, what? So weird. So weird. Right? But when you get into it, you find out it's so much more. There is a secret that they've been hiding from all of the marketing materials, and I love them from that. So definitely, even if you've watched the trailer, you would be pleasantly surprised by what will happen or what will be revealed, because none of the horror aspects of it was revealed, even in the synopsis and in the trailer. So yeah, going into this series blind and just being surprised by all its twists and turns is definitely a must. So I suggest you just hold off on any spoilers. If you see any spoilers, just skip it if you are planning to watch this series, and you'll see how beautifully well written it is. So obviously, I'm a big fan of horror movies, and for most horror movies, from the beginning and as you're watching it, you kind of get an idea what will be the ending, what will happen, if someone's gonna get sacrificed, someone's gonna die, or they're gonna defeat the villain, they're gonna survive the night or whatever. At least the main character will survive or whatever. But in this series, it will keep you guessing. It goes full on Game of Thrones in one of the episodes, so we might spoil some stuff near the end. So yeah, spoiler warning ahead. Yeah, it's just such a fun ride. So again, spoiler warning. This is the point of no return. Again, if you haven't watched the movie, the series yet, so I suggest you pause it here and watch it before we move on. Now that we're here, so hopefully you've seen the series now, and yeah, let's talk a bit about the cast of Midnight Mass, because it's just some of the most compelling characters, in this series. And
stop it. Oh,
it's probably, this series again is probably not for everyone. Those who are used to horror movies with a lot of jump scares and action and just gore and violence, although there are those elements here, but it's not the main focus. So there are a few jump scares, and the main monster, as you may call it, is actually revealed almost halfway, and even so, he is not seen for most of the series. It kind of is a mix of a character dramas, because there are a lot of main characters and there are a lot of character development going on within them. There are a lot of good conversations. So again, it probably isn't for everyone if you're not a fan of listening to long philosophical conversations, but that's just part of, for me at least, that is part of the beauty of Midnight Mass. So again, also tackles lots of serious topics on religion, of course, and of course, again, as I said, it's probably not for everyone, especially here in the Philippines, since there are a lot of Christians here, and of course they do tackle a lot of sensitive topics, about religion and people using religion for their own agendas, and racism and biases against Muslims or in other religions. So they talk a little bit about that. Well, actually, not a little bit. It's actually kind of the main focus. And of course, as another beautiful focus is, again, wonderful views of death. And again, we're going way off topic, so let's talk about the characters of the series. And I would love to start it off with the main bad guy, or the pseudo half bad guy. You'll get it. Well, you get it if you've seen the series. But yeah, let's talk about Father Pruitt, because his character is actually the best character in this series. And me growing up in a Catholic school, Catholic community, of course, I've known a lot of priests. And this guy, his acting, he sounds like a priest. I mean, he's delivering long monologues or passages from the Bible, and it sounds like as if a priest is giving you a lecture, and his voice is kind of comforting, and you really see how he can be a cult leader because you believe him, and his words are very comforting. Again, he's very charismatic, as the synopsis said, and yeah, he's just such a charming priest. And it's very scary that it happens, and usually cult leaders are very charismatic people. So again, that's one of the sensitive topics of this series, is we got to sometimes be critical of when we are listening to people in power, and not because they're handsome and charismatic, it doesn't mean that they're always right, and sometimes they can be doing things for their own agenda and not really necessarily for your personal gain or your growth. And it happens, not always, but yeah, again, you just have to be critical of those things. So talking more about Father Pruitt, you really get to see that he actually believes, at least in the beginning, you believe that he believes that whatever he's doing is what he thinks is right. And in his beliefs, he has a lot of monologues that suffering sometimes is a blessing from God, and blessings from God are usually not what you'd expect. So, and sometimes he says suffering will bring out something good or something. And I'm not trying to quote the Bible, I'm just quoting the things he said in the series. But yeah, so it just plays on that idea of how he was also manipulated by this entity. He's calling it an angel, and it kind of looks like an angel, and it you get to see why he would think that from his dialogues as well. So another villain in the series, whom I think is actually the secret true villain of the series, is Beverly Keane, or Bev as the characters call her. And she's a character that I really love, or I guess it's better to say that I love to hate, because she's just so infuriating. And that's because I've seen a lot of people like her, and she's the type of hardcore Christian that is very scary. She's always quoting the Bible and trying to use the Bible to justify wrong things she's doing, and she uses it to justify racism, acts of hate, thinking she also is self-righteous, and yeah, if you know a person like that, then I think you can definitely relate to being pissed at Beverly Kane. And personally, that's why I kind of changed my belief in the church. Although I still believe in God, sometimes people in charge of the church are kind of weird, and I don't think that that's kind of without getting too religious. Yeah, it's just the thing that really gets me the most with organized religion. So moving on to the main characters, we have Riley Flynn, who is an ex-convict. At the beginning of this series, you see him into an accident where he of course accidentally kills this girl while he was blacked out. He was passed out drunk driving his car, and we see him 4 years later struggling with his conscience and trying to find his place in this world. And of course we have Aaron Green, who is the teacher of this small island. He is also the love interest of Riley Flynn, and of course they have a lot of complex and very endearing conversations. I really love that in the midst of this horror series, they have time to have very deep philosophical conversations about addiction, alcoholism, death, and surviving trauma. And yeah, some of the things they said are very, very beautiful, and I could agree with certain things they say in this film. And of course, this wouldn't be a horror movie without some sort of supernatural entity or something. And of course, I saved it for last. We're gonna talk about the creature, the angel as they call it. Well, we know it's a vampire, or an elder vampire. Well, this is me coming from Witcher Blood and Wine, and yeah, elder vampires are just, the OG vampires, and they are special vampires, and they call it the angel. And it was very, very unexpected. Actually, just a side note, when I read the title Midnight Mass, I thought this series will be about witches and like the witches mass, midnight mass, something like that. So yeah, I was very, very surprised that this was secretly a vampire series. And yeah, this is a major spoiler, and I hope you watched the series before you heard this, because this was just such an epic reveal. So in their universe, apparently they haven't heard anything about vampires, like much in The Walking Dead, where in the beginning they know nothing about zombies. In this series, they know nothing about vampires. So with that context in mind, you would definitely, if you were Father or Monsignor Pruitt, who's seeing a vampire with angel-like wings and, feeding you blood and bringing you youth, you would think that was kind of like, like Jesus or something. Because iconically, Monsignor Pruitt actually found this entity while he was traveling from Jerusalem to Damascus. And of course, Saint Paul in the Bible also kind of discovered God when on the road from Jerusalem to Damascus. And with those like comparisons, you would definitely see how Monsignor Pruitt would be convinced that this is an angel of God. And of course, I really love. Okay, so that aside, the vampire is very awesome. I love the use of practical and 3D. I think they use both in some scenes, and I really love the use of that. I love the prosthetics, and I love the effect with the eyes that glows in the dark. It's like cat's eyes or a deer's eyes. If you've seen a deer in the middle of the road hit by flashing lights, you see the glowing eyes. And they do the same for when you turn into a vampire, and these entities eyes as well. It glows in the dark, and I really love that. And I'm really curious how they pulled that off. If it was just like a digital thing, or did they have, like, I don't know what they did, but it was really cool. And there are some scenes that you really have to look through the dark scenes where for glowing eyes, and it really makes you want to rewatch everything just to see if this creature was lurking somewhere in the dark, somewhere in the background for some of the scenes, and that was just really good. So again, with the effects, when you turn into a vampire, when you look at lights, you get to see this halo, right? And when Monsignor Pruitt was first given the blood of the vampire, and he saw the creature in this dim light, and he saw a halo behind it, and of course when you see that, you're a priest, and this thing killed you and then brought you back to life apparently, and made you young, dude. And yeah, so you would definitely think again. And of course, later in the series, we do find out that he also had a secret agenda for why he brought back this creature, and of course that is to give youth to one of his lovers apparently. And of course we won't spoil everything, but yeah. And again, you see that how complex this character of Monsignor Pruitt is, and you just I really love his character. Overall, Overall, Midnight Mass is able to mix the fears of the real world, so things you are usually scared of, but you usually just pass them by or ignore them, and it adds just this little ingredient, this special sauce of supernatural entities that just makes things erupt and explode. And it does almost give me a Lovecraftian vibe, because again, this is an island in the middle of the sea, and they're up against this ancient evil. And yeah, it's very, very creepy, and it's not really scary, but it's the sort of scary that just makes you think and makes you question your beliefs. And again, it makes you question your views on religion. If you're a very devout Christian, it makes you question your beliefs. And it also just again, it gives some beautiful context about Muslims, and we don't get enough of context for Islam, and the character of the sheriff actually gives us a little bit of insight of what they believe, and I think that's pretty cool. And we do really need more representation of other religions in TV series and in movies. So I love how in the ending they kept it a bit ambiguous as to the fate of the creature seemingly flying away in the sunrise, and the ending might not be as it seemed, because again, number one rule in TV or in movies, if you don't see the creature die, or the main character die, or the character die, then there is a possibility for them to come back. And I think that was what the producers wanted as well. They ended it in the way that was still satisfying to the audience. Like, you can just say died. The way it looked, you can just say it died, and just stop there. The ending's still beautiful, and the story is still beautiful, and there's no sacrifice to it. Or if they ever want to produce a sequel to this series, it is very still open to that, because again, we did not see the creature die. Maybe a boat was passing by, and the creature was able to stow away somewhere, hide from the sun, and there we get a part 2, which it will be awesome as well, as long as Mike Flanagan is still at the helm of this project. Overall, we're giving Midnight Mass a solid 9.5 out of 10. Definitely a must watch. If you're a devout Christian, or any religion for that matter, I suggest you do watch this. I mean, it's not really anti-religion, it's actually here to make you question religion, and if you're offended by that, that's good. That's the whole point of this horror film. It's supposed to question your beliefs. It's not here to comfort us. It's supposed to shake you to the core, question our beliefs, and ask us what it means to be human, what it means to be a good person, a good Christian, or whatever religion for that matter, whatever the case may be. It should question your faith, and again, I believe that you should always question your faith. And when you do, and if you still believe and you're still steadfast in it, doesn't that make you all the more faithful? Or does it make you like one of the characters of the film? So yeah, it definitely raises a lot of questions that I guess it's good to ask every once in a while. And I guess the best horror movies are actually the ones that drive social conversation and drive just a great change, because nothing, not love stories or not comedies, can drive as much change as fear and stuff like that, and hope. Again, I mean, like for example, The Passion of Christ is like R13, and it's gory and it's scary as well, and it does bring a catharsis and a change to the people who watched it. And so again, Midnight Mass, I've seen a lot of scary movies, and more often than not you would probably guess where it's going, how it will end. But for the case of Midnight Mass, I was guessing up to the very end. It's just such well written, and again, everything about it is just awesome. The acting, the lines can be a bit dragging, but if you listen to it, it definitely has meaning. All of the dialogue has some sort of meaning, again, about serious topics, about addiction, surviving addiction, and stuff like that, immortality, and life itself, and death. And yeah, there are a lot of analogies they talk about death, and most of them are beautiful. All of them are beautiful. And yeah, so anyway, what a way to start off the spookiest month of the year. Of course, it's October. We're hoping for a lot more spooky movies to come out, hopefully just as good as Midnight Mass. But yeah, if you're looking for a scary fix, don't hesitate to binge watch Midnight Mass. I highly recommend it. Again, it's not scary like blood and gore like Saw, or I don't know, The Purge or something. It's not that violent, but although it has some violence, but it's a more psychological, philosophical sort of horror that is kind of unique. And yeah, I hope everyone can get a chance to see this series. So yeah, guys, what do you think of Midnight Mass? Do you have any positive or negative thoughts about it? Comment it down below, and we would love to hear from you guys, because again, the whole purpose of the series is to drive conversation. And also this channel, this review channel, it's all about driving the conversation around these movies. So comment it down below. And once again, it's me, your bearded bro, QuickSilver 15, signing off. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, and all that shabam. And see you on our next video. Peace.